And for today's event, we have a simultaneous Chinese-English translation. Please select Chinese or English in the panel on the screen. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Beijing Chenjie Education Foundation, I'm happy to welcome you to today's parallel forum of the United Nations Women 67th session under the topic of achieving gender equality in the digital age. As technology continues to advance at a rapid pace, it has become increasingly important to ensure that everyone, regardless of gender, has equal access to the opportunities and resources the digital tools and platforms offer. Unfortunately, women and other marginalized groups often face significant barriers in the digital realm. In this panel, we will explore these issues and discuss strategies for promoting gender equality in the digital age. Our esteemed panelists bring a wealth of experience and expertise to this important conversation, and we look forward to a thought-provoking and insightful discussion. My name is Alessia, and I serve as the International Volunteer Chief Officer of Chenjie Education Foundation, and I will be your moderator for today. And we have prepared a brief video to showcase the work Chenjie does, which we will play for you right now. Yeah, Emma, can we play the video, please?
Promote women's role in sustainable development. Chinese NGOs must take international responsibilities. As the Chinese non-governmental organization in special consultative status of the UN Economic and Social Council, Beijing Chenjie Education Foundation is committed to AIDS prevention and control education for adolescents and public welfare undertakings for women and children. Chenjie projects cover 28 provinces and cities in China, with a total of 13 million beneficiaries, of which 60% are girls and women who got access to fair education and development opportunities, with established contacts with many international organizations such as UNAIDS, UNESCO, and many institutions in China from developing countries. Together, we share experience, train personnel, provide funding, jointly promote the protection of the rights and interests of women and children, enhance the role of women in sustainable development. We hope to join more global forces to achieve the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals as scheduled and create a better future for women around the world.
Thank you so much. And I'm pleased to invite our first speaker, Susan Kendall, who currently works as a gender consultant with UNICEF in New York headquarters in the Water, Sanitation and Hygiene WASH section. Susan previously worked with UNICEF Kenya, strengthening their education program from a gender perspective, and has worked with FCGO Girls Education Challenge as a gender advisor monitoring programs. Yeah, let me invite Susan. Yes, Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. I'm a gender consultant currently working with UNICEF here in New York. I've previously worked with UNICEF in Kenya and the UK government for Girls Education Challenge, working on girls empowerment programs across South Asia and Eastern Africa. I'm here today to talk about achieving gender equality through innovation in the digital age. I'm going to talk about the context in which we're currently in, the problems we are facing, as well as some of the shoots of hope that exist and where we go next, all in 10 minutes. So first, before we look at how technology and innovation can support gender equality, I think we need to consider some of the barriers girls are facing. There are more than 600 million adolescent girls in the world today, Equipped with the right resources and opportunities, they will be the largest cohort of female leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and change makers the world has ever seen. And according to McKinsey, 6 out of 10 jobs currently require digital and tech skills. However, the current workforce cannot fulfill the level of digital transformation required in the market. Education systems are not meeting the needs of the labour market. This gap is further exacerbated for girls because of existing systematic gender-based discrimination. We are in a global learning crisis. That means millions of girls are not gaining the foundational literacy, numeracy, and social and emotional skills to build a STEM education. Governments that have primary responsibility for early childhood education and primary education need to invest early in education that leads to foundational skills. There is also an exclusion of adolescent girls from upper secondary education and further education and employment in STEM sectors. According to the UNESCO Institute for Statistics, only 35% of all students enrolled in STEM fields are girls. In 2021, only 22% of girls in low-income countries reported having taken a computer science or programming course, compared to 37% of boys. Globally, girls are almost twice as likely not to be involved in any form of education or training compared to boys. This is particularly stark because globally, girls are attending and succeeding in primary and secondary education, including maths and science, at the same rate as boys globally. But then the shift into further education and employment and training falls off a cliff. Across the world, girls, particularly those from poorer, rural, and marginalized communities, are at high risk of child marriage, early pregnancy, and are expected to be involved in care work. In fact, girls and women perform 2 to 3 times more care work than their male peers. Millions of adolescent girls are held back from their economic potential. Harmful gender norms restrict everything from girls' freedom of movement to the roles they can play in the workforce. So, gender-based discrimination reduces girls' access to STEM careers and economies and labour markets. Few women are represented in STEM fields. Only 25% of women hold jobs in the field of research and development, compared to 75% of men. Whilst global data is limited, we can see in the US, women make up only 28% of the workforce in STEM. Women represent only 35% of global STEM graduates at the tertiary level in education. And globally, 18% of girls in tertiary education are pursuing STEM studies, compared to 35% of boys. Even within the STEM fields, there lies a gender divide, with similar numbers of boys and girls pursuing natural sciences, while far more boys look to engineering, manufacturing, and construction. Furthermore, women leave STEM disciplines in disproportionate numbers during their higher education studies, in their transition to the world of work, and even in their career cycle. So why is this? Here are some of the reasons. Women face discrimination in the workplace. Girls are not encouraged to pursue STEM subjects from an early age. It is more difficult to balance work and family life in STEM jobs. Women are less likely than men to believe they can succeed in STEM. There are so few role models in STEM, and workplaces continue to be plagued by gender discrimination, abuse, and harassment. And globally, COVID, conflict, and climate change affects adolescent girls disproportionately. When disasters hit, it is girls who are most at risk of dropping out of school and never returning, or of missing out on life-saving health services. Marginalized girls, such as migrants and refugee girls especially. Experience tells us that during crisis, girls face increased risk of sexual violence, child marriage, and exploitation. Crisis also exacerbates the care work burden that girls carry. Girls and women perform 2 to 3 times more care work than their male peers. However, traction is being made, and transformative innovations advancing gender equality through technology do exist. One example includes the Oki app. Oki was designed with and for girls using girl-centered design, and all started in Mongolia and Indonesia. Girls were the decision makers at every stage. They decided Oki's look and feel, its functionality and features, and its name. Oki provides evidence-based information about menstruation, puberty, and reproductive health in girl-friendly language. It is now being scaled up and used in many more countries. So, putting girls at the center of the innovation is crucial if it is to succeed. Another example, UNICEF's Skills for Girls portfolio is currently working with and for girls to bridge the gap between the skills girls need to be competitive in the 21st century workforce. They are currently implemented in more than 20 countries. One example, in Vietnam, works with girls in rural, remote settings and poor urban areas to increase their participation in skilled work, especially in fields where they are underrepresented. The program equips girls with STEM, digital technology skills and life skills such as self-confidence, problem solving, and decision-making. So what can we learn from this technology? Working with the most marginalized girls is crucial so no one is left behind. Another example, Technovation is a global tech education nonprofit that empowers girls to become leaders, creators, and problem solvers. Technovation Girls program equips young women aged between 8 and 18 to become tech entrepreneurs and leaders. With the support of volunteer mentors and parents, girls work in teams to code mobile apps that address real-world problems. And so what can we learn from Technovation? Working with the whole community and getting buy-in is crucial if we are to advance girls' participation. So what can we all do now? We must increase our partnership with girls and women-led groups, networks, and organizations. We must start early childhood education and prioritize foundational skills for all. We must create multiple flexible pathways to learning and skills so that all adolescents gain the necessary skills for further education and work. We must work to close the digital divide, address social norms and stereotypes that exclude adolescent girls from STEM subjects. And leaders must come together to invest in adolescent girls if we are to unlock these social and economic dividends. And so finally, investing in girls' success creates a ripple effect that benefits individual girls, their families, their communities, and entire societies. In other words, when girls succeed, we all succeed. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful speech, Susan, and your reminder that investing in girls' success creates a ripple effect that benefits individual girls, their families, and their communities, and entire society as well, is a powerful message that we should all take to heart. Yeah, thank you so much. And welcome our next speaker, Melody Tian. Melody is motivated by a strong desire to help people through public service. She has worked hard to promote educational access for minorities, founding a New England charity called Equal Education Access. She is also a fearless debater, having recently qualified for the World Championship. She is committed to ending gender inequality. Yeah, Melody, the floor is yours. Yeah, please, you can start.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Melody Tian, representing the Changier Foundation, and it's truly an honor to be able to stand here before you today and speak from the bottom of my heart about an emerging technology I believe possesses remarkable potential for the young women of the world. But before looking towards the future, let's first take a step back and anchor ourselves in the present. The world we live in right now is not a kind one for women. Girls in the developing world face a number of virtually insurmountable challenges, the very first being simply to getting a decent education. Obstacles within and outside the home, responsibilities too heavy for young children to bear, make it hard for them to access the resources we have been so privileged to grow up with. We're all gathered here because we know this. We know that women make up more than 2/3 of the world's 796 million illiterate people, and that just 39% of girls living in rural areas attend secondary school. much lower than their male counterparts and children living in urban areas. The implications of this on their future are heavy. Each additional year of primary school increases girls' eventual wages by 10 to 20%, encourages them to marry later and have fewer children, and leaves them less vulnerable to violence. So, what don't we know? Well, the question is what it always has been. What can we do to break down some of these obstacles so they are no longer insurmountable? We've made some progress, it's true, but the pandemic of 2020 taught us that many of the gains we secured were unstable. We suddenly needed a technological supplement to the on-the-ground infrastructure and work that had been done. What should this technological supplement be? Well, I'm sure you've all heard its name. ChatGPT, which stands for Generative Pre-training Transformer, is a new kind of AI that opens up a whole new host of opportunities with its novel approach to response generation. I've asked it to prepare a brief introduction for you all with a fun fact about itself. Here's what it generated. Hello, I'm ChatGPT, an AI language model designed to understand and generate human-like responses to various prompts. A fun fact about me is that I have a virtual pet penguin that keeps me company while I process your questions. His name is Chili, and he's a master of virtual ice fishing. Charming, isn't it? To be fair, I did tell it to be lighthearted. I'm sure it could have been much more cordial if told who it was talking to. But to get back on topic, forgive me for outlining the basics, but let me tell you what AI is. Broadly speaking, artificial intelligence refers to using computers to substitute for tasks normally requiring human intelligence. Contrary to popular opinion, it doesn't yet refer to fully autonomous programs able to operate across a wide range of tasks. So technically, apps like Waze, Google Maps, and even spam filters on your email are artificial intelligence. Recently, there have been 3 major advances. Number 1, the ability to learn in a self-supervised or self-motivated way with the use of natural language models. Number 2, the ability for a single AI system to learn in a continual way, allowing it to solve problems from many different domains without extensive retraining for each. And number 3, the ability to generalize between domains. Because of these advances, we've seen AI usage spread to the point where we're using it in essentially all of our devices. So when you dictate speech to your phone, when Spotify suggests the next song, or when you edit your Zoom background. AI also helps us identify eye and skin disorders and cancers, and can check your bank account for fraud or detect money laundering. But ChatGPT is a bit different from all of these, and its popularity has exploded as a result. It hit 1 million users in a record time of only 5 days, while comparatively, the closest runner-ups, being Spotify and Instagram, took months. As of January of this year, there are 100 million users. But why? It's just a chatbot, right? You put in a prompt, it produces a response. This type of technology has been around for a while now. What's so special about it is the quality of its responses. Being pre-trained by humans to improve and perfect its responses, as well as eliminate bias, drawing from a massive data set of text, including over 45 terabytes of text from the internet. For scale, that's over 45,000 gigabytes. It is remarkably good at finding and presenting information. Furthermore, it can do so with an impressive command of grammar and diction, even changing the tone of its speech if you so desire. It can quickly summarize entire articles or even books, breaking down complex pieces of information into manageable bites, presented in a highly readable manner. And if it's still too dense for the reader, it can even change the lexile level of the content it produces to suit your needs, all in the matter of seconds. It could theoretically even help the United Nations by optimizing schedules, generating replies to emails automatically, or preparing base text for discussion. Because believe it or not, ChatGPT has been used to write legal briefs with relative success. But that's besides the point. I think that ChatGPT can help us to provide a decent education for women all over the world, if we pair it with the right infrastructure. One of the key problems in education in developing countries is that it lags behind that of developed countries. We're worried about learning coding, and while concerns about equity in certain male-dominated industries are important, rural girls are still struggling to get to school and obtain a baseline education. This is wrong. The onus is on us to help them bridge this gap. So, how can ChatGPT help us do that? Well, in places where resources are already stretched thin and access to teachers is more difficult, ChatGPT reduces the demand for manpower, class materials, and hours needed to help children learn. It can create a lesson plan, even time-constrained if you wish, to learn a subject, complete with the materials you will need. It can summarize information for multiple levels of difficulty, like the lexile levels I mentioned earlier. Games, exercises, assessments for reinforcing learning in creative ways. While it might cost a teacher valuable time and energy to create these, ChatGPT makes these available to the student at any time they want and can even grade their work. It can do all this without access to the internet and in a plethora of languages. It is an invaluable educational tool. And while, yes, a large staff could do this without the use of AI, ChatGPT offers specialized one-on-one attention. Users can ask questions and receive prompt responses without having to navigate through different websites or databases for a more complete answer. It is able to tailor itself to you through its ability to remember what was previously said in a conversation, and thus students can talk to their teacher in the way that suits them best, even when school's out. And after the curriculum is finished, ChatGPT can help prepare resumes, conduct interview practice tests, provide useful examples of emails and responses to potential employers, and even conduct basic job searches. It extends beyond the classroom and can help to propel students into the professional sphere. Now, this isn't a substitute for the infrastructure that these girls need: closer schools, access to better technology, internet, human teachers, etc. But it can supplement and infinitely enhance the power of those things. If we make it our mission to take advantage of ChatGPT or AI like it, we must also keep in mind that this technology is still developing and developing rapidly. Advances in AI are going to produce substantial governance challenges, and we'll need to strike a balance between protecting against misinformation and bias and not stifling innovation. At this point, making sure the developers of this software are practicing transparency in the data they use, who is using it, and continuing to actively mitigate internalized bias is vital to making sure the educational material drawn from it is accurate and unprejudiced. This is not a new problem. I know this. The UN knows it. Quality education is fourth on its list of 17 goals, and gender equality the very next. The UN has met with considerable success in reducing global poverty, especially in developing countries. The Decade of Education for Sustainable Development was an important initiative, especially in spreading concepts like human rights, gender equality, and environmental protection. However, the impact of this has been uneven. Progress has been slow in developing countries due to competing economic and social demands. And this makes amplifying the effect of our intervention all the more important. Technology is developing at a staggering pace, offering us new and innovative avenues to uplift the women of the world in ways we never could have imagined before. So it is our duty to not shy away from using them for good, just because they are relatively unfamiliar. Now, I am by no means a rural girl, but my grandmother, many years ago, was. And of course, the world looked very different then. No computers, no Google, no Khan Academy, nothing like that. Even if she wanted something more for herself, she would have been at the whim of whatever educational institution or mentors she could find in her vicinity. If, of course, she had the time and money to attend school. She would be limited to a certain difficulty level, to a certain number of subjects, and by extension, to a certain worldview. And it hurts to think that even today, when the digital age has taken the world by storm, that there are still girls out there stuck in that reality. So let's find ways to leverage what we have and unlock a better future for them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your speech, Melody, and your insights into the ways in which AI can be leveraged to break down barriers and promote inclusion for girls and women in the digital age were truly inspiring. Yeah, thank you so much. And let me invite our next speaker, Shane Robitaille. Shane is an international setting author and poet, an Air Force veteran, public speaker, former IT leader, and he has helped companies build award-winning diverse next-generation talent pipelines for the last decade. He has worked for the White House, several Fortune 500 companies, and has volunteered for various nonprofit organizations. Welcome, Shane.
Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity today to speak to such a distinguished audience. It's an absolute thrill to be here today. I've had the privilege of spending the last 10 years or so helping corporations and nonprofits and communities use internships as a way to develop diverse next generation talent pipelines for technology and business career fields. In the last 10 years, I've seen this challenge from every conceivable angle. I know what tends to work and what doesn't. I've had the honor of speaking at Disney World to an international audience on how to build these types of programs. From helping leaders understand opportunities and challenges, budgeting, recruiting talent, engaging communities and local governments, mentoring, coaching, hiring, and retaining talent. I have seen the awesome results when we make diversity and inclusion a priority when building tomorrow's workforce. The most important thing that I want to shout from the top of the Empire State Building this morning is that this isn't a hypothetical opportunity. Rather, this is real, it works, and positively impacts businesses, communities, and young people. With very modest budgets, supportive leaders, a long-term commitment, and a little passion, increasing the number of women in tech is 100% achievable. One of the most effective strategies for doing this is for companies to allocate a portion of their internship positions for high school students, with a focus on recruiting young women and other diverse students. Doing this well can create a diverse pipeline of talent for college internships. With only a few minutes to spend with you, I wanted to use my limited time as effectively as possible. So rather than tell you what I think, I'm going to let you hear from several young women who participated in an early career program that I managed. All of them were interns in a Fortune 500 company when they were teenagers in high school, and they continued through college. For many of them, being exposed to tech while in high school influenced their college decisions and ultimately career choices. Now in their late 20s or early 30s, and working all over the world in various industries, they were thrilled to share their thoughts with this forum. I asked them what they would tell you about their experience, and this is what they said. From Destiny, I would say it made me have more courage in my life and take things head on, be comfortable with getting out of my comfort zone and really just becoming eager to have constant change. Savannah said, technically being an IT intern for a Fortune 100 company before the age of 18 gave me the foundational knowledge of how to navigate corporate spaces and develop my chops when it came to delegation, organization, leadership, and ideation that I couldn't have received anywhere else. Personally, the opportunity gave me mentors who not just believed in me, but pushed me to strive for excellence in whatever way that meant for me. I believe that making space in IT, especially for young Black women like myself, is highly reflective of the change and sustainable innovation we all wish to see in the world. It was a pivotal time in my life, and I am grateful for that period of time. Katie said, the internship single-handedly got me to where I am now. Without that chance or opportunity to prove myself, who knows where I would be today or what I would be doing. From Chelsea, if I could say anything about being a teenager in IT, I'd say it was like shattering the glass ceiling. It opened up a new frontier that offered endless opportunities and an environment for growth. Being in a male-dominated field, it was daunting at first for sure, but over time I gained the confidence, surrounded by my awesome peers, of course, to become the young professional that I am today. China Lee said, my biggest advice would be not to be afraid to advocate for yourself. Reflecting on my time in the IT field during high school, I remember always feeling anxious to ask questions for two reasons. One, because I was younger than everybody else. And two, I didn't want my team to think I wasn't up for the challenge. But now I realize the only way to squash those feelings of nervousness and insecurity is to ask all the questions that popped into my head. Sometimes, especially in a male-dominated field, women and girls are afraid to speak up, but when they do, we can create a space for ourselves. From Kelly, the tech industry and IT showed me that I'm capable of anything. When I was 16 years old, I was working on a highly visible strategic project, onboarding new employees from an acquisition. This project changed my life and showed me that I am capable of doing anything. Also, the tech industry and IT have given me a platform to advocate for other young girls trying to enter this space. The experience helped me and others pave the way for other women who want to follow in our footsteps. Danielle said, we're constantly told that tech is the future, that careers in IT allow us to have influence, to be change makers, to strive for personal success, but also create broad impact. It's also a field that is, in spite of the progress we've made, still dominated by men. Being a woman in tech is about more than just breaking the mold. It's about lending our voice to all the social and global change that can be made through the spheres of influence that tech affords us. If IT is the future, if building new programs is how we make change, If tech careers put us in the rooms where change is happening, then we need women in those rooms. From Giovanni, one thing about being a teenage girl in the IT tech world was that it was definitely life-changing. It shifted and developed my mind in such a positive way. The experience paved the way for me growing up in the real world and helped me thrive as a woman. I learned about the world of IT, how business works, how to network, public speaking, how to collaborate in a work environment with others, and most of all, how to better myself every day and how to push others to do the same. This intern program that I was blessed to be in was more than just a job for me. I had great professional mentors from all over the company. I developed my skills in IT and business, but something I will always take with me was the self-development that I had as a teenage girl. My mentor always pushed us to our potential and was always there to listen and help when I needed it. This is life-changing because not everyone in their life was blessed with an adult figure who sincerely cared and believed in them the way my mentor did for us interns. And I took all of his advice and teachings with me forever, especially this advice. Quote, "You must always follow your true north." End quote. This has helped me throughout the years of my professional career and just life in general, as I remember to always stay true to myself, reach my highest potential, and always help others and pass on knowledge the way my mentor did with us. I could go on, but we only have a couple minutes left. So I hope you enjoyed hearing from these former teenage interns who are now young leaders in the world. It was an absolute thrill to hear from them again, and I'm so proud about what kinds of adults they have become, how they haven't forgotten where they started, and how they are already helping the next generation follow in their footsteps. At the end of every summer intern program, after witnessing the incredible growth and confidence of these young people in just a few months, I addressed all of the interns, their leaders, and teams with the following quote from an obscure 1980s band called Timbuk3. I would always conclude every summer by saying, "The future is so bright, I gotta wear shades." Now, I'd like to leave you with an original poem of mine called Her Lucky Day. It's about a young woman who meets herself 50 years older. To my daughters and to daughters everywhere. Her lucky day. Waiting for the bus on a rainy day, an old woman approached me to say, "Stop for a second and listen, girl. This is your lucky day." With Doc Martens and a shock of white hair, she looked like an aging punk rock star. She said, "You don't know me yet, but I know who you are." "I have a few minutes," she said, "if you have a minute or two." I wasn't sure what to say. I didn't know what to do. Her friendly smile left her wrinkled face. She suddenly looked stern. She reached out to shake my hand. Her eyes were ablaze. Her grip was firm. "Why aren't you going for it?" she asked. "Why aren't you bold? Why aren't you adventurous before you get too old? Why don't you seek real love in the most unselfish way? Do you make the most, I mean the most, of every single glorious day? Why don't you ever take a stand? Why don't you ask him to dance? Why aren't you shooting for the moon? Why aren't you taking a chance? Why don't you forgive more? Why don't you find the time? Why don't you run the big race? Why aren't you more kind? Why aren't you rocking this world? Why don't you sing? Why don't you run wild under the stars? Where are your wings?" The old woman paused and smiled. I said, "But how do you know me?" "I'm in you in 50 years, she said, "and I've seen how things will be." Don't waste your time, kid. Dream big, live hard, and be bold. Find the good and the beauty in this world, and you'll never, ever, ever grow old. "I've got to go now," she said, as she turned to walk away. "Don't wait another moment. Time is a gift. Seize the day." I stepped out into downpour and with fire in my veins, ran with wild abandonment and was never, ever the same. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shane, for this inspiring speech. This was really inspiring.
Thank you.
And we appreciate sharing on how to create a diverse pipeline of talent for college internship positions. And I believe it's a perfect way to ensure that women and other underrepresented groups are given the opportunity to succeed and thrive in the tech industry and their future. And thank you so much. Yeah. And let me invite our next speaker, who is Bani Rosa Wang. Rosa is a junior from the New York University, majoring in education and minoring in economics. Growing up in China and later studying in the US, as an international student, her international learning background and self-exploration developed her insights into education and shaped her mindset of lifelong learning. Welcome you to share your story, Rosa.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatest honor to be here and delve into the topic of gender equality in the digital age with all of you. Let's take a moment to reflect on this question. Is gender equality real? If it is, can it be achieved? If it isn't, why do people strive for it persistently? I didn't think it's real. I had long been skeptical of the existence of it. How could gender equality be real when physical differences exist between males and females? And aren't inequalities created by differences? I believe I arrive at the answer that gender inequality is inevitable due to birth-given sexes, no matter how hard people try to deny it. Being confident about this thought, which lacks academic and practical evidence, I became curious about why and how people keep trying to promote and reach gender equality, since it seemed controversial and vague. Is there a hidden factor at play? For me, gender equality is not only a personal opinion that is proved ignorant a few years later, but a multifaceted social phenomenon and academic inquiry that inspires me to explore truth and seek understanding. This exploration has spent 6 years and continues to this day. Through deep reflection and extensive research, I was repeatedly struck by the stark reality and profound significance of gender equality. When I learned its definition as a situation in which access to rights or opportunities is unaffected by gender, its expansive nature seems more clear to me, which extends far beyond mere physical distinctions between men and women. Gender equality transcends abstraction, encompassing instead the very human struggle to uphold our fundamental rights, the pursuit of equal opportunities and resources, and the quest for social stability and harmony. In the Global Gender Gap Report of 2022 by the World Economic Forum, it still takes 132 years to reach full parity. But according to the trends leading up to 2020, the gender gap was set to close within 100 years. Although there is still considerable efforts to make, our collective endeavors progress is worth it. As I delve deeper into my research, I discovered that innovation and technological advancements could serve as powerful external forces in supporting gender equality. And at the same time, education plays a critical internal role in shaping individuals' beliefs and values and promoting gender equality. In this digital age, heightened connectivity and streamlined information dissemination have provided opportunities for innovation, technological changes, and education. They have also opened up new paths for invigorating our minds and enriching the way we communicate and learn from each other. In terms of innovation and technological changes, upon recognizing the digital gender gap, UNICEF took action by creating the Gender Tech Toolkit. It is a comprehensive resource that allows the UNICEF Gender and Innovation team to empower digital innovators, designers, and implementers. Therefore, they can create digital solutions, generate user-testing digital products, and conduct remote consultations to benefit girls and women. With structured and expert guidance in the Gender Tech Toolkit, Creators of cutting-edge technologies can bring their ideas to fruition, advocate for women's right to access technology, and equip women with the skills and knowledge to use technology effectively. As we enter the digital age, women get more exposure to digital solutions and unlock their full potential, including their innate leadership and entrepreneurial acumen. UN Women envisions shifting the mode of women-owned businesses from survive to thrive and flourish by supplying training sessions, mentorship, communication, and international exposure in For Good program South Africa. Imagine a program that ignites the enthusiasm of South African women. It not only inspires confidence in the male-dominated marketplace, but also enriches entrepreneurial knowledge base of women with leadership spirit. Gender equality is achieved when we adopt beliefs that eradicate gender bias and make enduring efforts to ensure that all individuals enjoy resources and opportunities. In essence, gender equality is a mindset that transcends physical differences and creates a truly equitable society. Education is a fundamental pillar of self-discovery and a powerful catalyst for instilling gender equality in people's minds. Unfortunately, according to UNICEF, an astounding 129 million girls worldwide are currently deprived of their right to an education. To tackle it, UNICEF equips governments with financial resources to prioritize gender equality, involves utilizing assessment data to address gender disparities in learning outcomes, and provides teachers with training and professional development that incorporates gender-responsive pedagogy. Regarding promoting gender equality, education is a critical arena in which progress can be made. To truly achieve gender equality in education policy, management, and teaching practices all must prioritize the elimination of gender inequality and take determined steps to address it. This may require implementing targeted initiatives that aims to promote gender equality and ensure that all individuals have equal access to educational opportunities, regardless of their gender identity. Ensuring everyone has access to education is crucial to promoting gender equality, but it's not enough to simply provide access to education. We must also use education as a means to instill the fundamental principles of gender equality in the minds of future generations. Through education, we can empower individuals to challenge and overcome gender bias. As I embarked on my journey of self-awareness and transitioned into the education major, I underwent a transformation that injected a deep sense of inclusivity and a belief in me. I came to believe in educators' passion and dedication, the transformative power of lifelong learning, and the innate potential of every individual, regardless of gender, to pursue their dreams and achieve their goals through hard work and determination. This belief in the human spirit and its boundless potential is what fuels my drive to make a positive impact in the world through education and to help others realize their unique possibilities. Let's dispel the notion that biological differences cause unequal opportunities and resources between men and women. Instead, real gender equality requires embracing all ideas, amplifying all voices, and respecting everyone. We have already made remarkable progress, and we remain steadfast in our commitment to continue forging ahead until we see the radiance of joy on the faces of every girl and woman, until we champion female entrepreneurs in every industry, until we eradicate all forms of violence against women, and until we provide equitable academic and vocational opportunities for every individual. These are not mere aspirations, but tangible goals that we shall eventually achieve. Returning to our initial inquiry at the beginning of this discourse, is gender equality real? I stand here today to affirm its undeniable realness, and I implore each of you to recognize its significance as well. This endeavor is not solely for the betterment of women, but for the advancement of all humanity. As Gloria Steinem said, a gender-equal society would be one where the word gender does not exist, where everyone can be themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa, for showing sincere respect to each individual, promoting gender equality in a multicultural context, and empowering women's creativity and leadership with educational thinking and approaches. Thank you so much. And we are moving to the next speaker. Next, let me invite my good friend, Joseph Olivier Mendo from Cameroon. Currently, Olivier is a PhD student at Peking University School of International Studies. He's a research assistant at the PKU Center for African Studies, also the co-founder of the China-Africa Youth Federation and the head of the African Delegation Youth in China. He initiated and wrote 2 collective letters to Chinese President Xi and got 2 reply letters from him. He has headed the African Youth Delegation in various high-profile international events and also often appears on CCTV and CGTN to share his insights on ongoing trends in China-Africa relations. Yeah, welcome, Olivier.
Okay, thank you very much, Olivia, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending on where you're listening and where you're joining us from. I am Joseph Olivier Mendo, as the moderator said, from Cameroon, and I serve as the head delegation of the African youth in China. And it is a great honor for me to join the virtual panel of the forum of the United Nations Women 67th session. Well, like my other colleagues, the previous panelists, I will be briefly sharing my thoughts on the topic achieving gender equality in the digital age at large, but also and specifically bringing the discussion to the African context. So I want to start by saying that innovation and digital technologies have created new communication and collaboration channels, allowing for new approaches to political engagement as well as participation in urban governance and development outcomes. Like many opportunities, however, it is important to understand who benefits and how. With Agenda's 2030's commitment to gender equality across all sectors of development, how innovation and digital technology empower women and girls must be understood, engaged with, and monitored. Towns and cities around the world provide a dynamic setting to understand the nexus between innovation, digital technology, and the empowerment of women and girls. Innovation and technology have the potential to serve as key drivers of change in cities and provide opportunities to reach women and girls, particularly those considered left behind. Technology and innovation have provided new decision-making platforms so women and girls can both drive and benefit from sustainable urbanization. And this is important given they continue to be underrepresented in urban decision-making processes across the globe. And at the same time, there is a need to identify and explore how and why digital technologies have facilitated and provided opportunities for women and girls to interact and participate in the democratic space. Technology can be a catalyst for transformative improvement to the lives of women and girls in cities, but more is needed to understand the principles and preconditions which must underpin the innovation and technology in order to deliver change on the ground that puts women at the heart of digital innovation. To bring it to the African context, building inclusive innovation and technology ecosystems is seen to be at the heart of efforts to leverage the potential of innovation and technology to support the economic, social, and political development of women and girls in Africa. It is a common view that technology and innovation have proved a positive disruptor in Africa, accelerating progress in terms of financial inclusion, creating new jobs, improving access to healthcare, or even providing information on agricultural practices and opening virtual spaces for citizens to engage on governance concerns. It is also a reality in Africa that while technology and innovation are being hailed as crucial means to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, the statistics on access, beneficiaries, and who influences their development are pointing to disparities between and among the genders. According to the International Telecommunication Union, the ITU, in Africa, women account for only 24% of the population using the internet, while men account for 35% of users. Thus, there is a need to work towards ensuring that these technological development do not widen the digital gender divides. I would like to mention the director of the African Union Commission's Women, Gender, and Youth Directorate, Ms. Prudence Ngwenya, who called for the common African position to be translated into implementable actions and mainstreamed into the work that governments are doing towards achieving gender equality and women's empowerment. And she quoted, actually, empowering women and girls through the provision of meaningful access to the internet and innovative technologies could undoubtedly provide them with opportunities to start businesses and to access education, health, social, as well as financial services. In that sense, to summarize, a reviewed and adopted coordinated position should be carried out in aspects like, or not limited to, access to digital tools, the internet itself, and relevant content for women and girls, data availability to support gender-responsive innovation, human and institutional capacity in support of technology and innovation for women and girls, human rights and agency, digital safety for women and children, as well as regional digital cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Olivier, for bringing in the African context regarding innovations and technology ecosystems to the discussion. And we appreciate the way you highlighted the positive impact that technology and innovation have had in Africa, from accelerating progress in financial inclusion to improving access to healthcare. However, we also acknowledge the reality that access to and influence over technological development is not evenly distributed among genders in Africa. And there is a lot to be done together. And thank you so much. And moving next, let me invite Tiffany Hui. Tiffany is a high school junior in the US, and from a young age, Tiffany was passionate about promoting gender equality and fairness, both locally and around the world. She strongly believes that everyone should have the same access to opportunities, regardless of gender. She brings awareness to gender equality issues through organizing and participating in various events, such as investing in technological innovations, such as learning apps to promote educational quality. Yeah, Tiffany, let me invite you. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Good morning, distinguished guests. I'm honored to be here today at the United Nations Women's Conference to address the issue of gender equality in education and how we can provide academic opportunities for young women through innovation in the digital age. Innovation has been the driving force behind the advancement of humanity, and the digital age has been no exception. We've seen the rise of the internet and the development of technologies that have revolutionized how we communicate, learn, and do business. However, despite this progress, gender inequality persists in many parts of the world. Women are still underrepresented in the workforce and in leadership roles. They're also more likely to experience poverty and violence and are often denied access to basic services such as healthcare and education. Having been raised in Hong Kong, a relatively developed city, education is compulsory. Children, regardless of race and gender, are entitled to free primary and secondary education, but this wasn't always the case. Over the past century, education has rapidly changed in society. As my grandmother recalled, she only received 3 years of education as a young girl, living in poverty in the 1940s, while her brothers received more as it was the societal norm. As a female, she was expected to help with household chores, such as doing the cooking, plowing fields, and taking care of her siblings. She was constrained to the domestic sphere due to her lack of education, and she was one of the lucky ones. Many other young girls her age never even went to school or read a book. Although times have changed and the educational attainment of Chinese women have drastically increased over the century, educational gender inequality still exists in many underdeveloped countries. It's clear that we must take action to address gender inequality, and the digital age provides us with a unique opportunity to do so. By harnessing the power of technology, we can create innovative solutions that can help close the gender gap. However, to address these challenges, we must leverage the power of innovation to create a more equitable and inclusive digital landscape. This means investing in infrastructure and access, ensuring that women are included in the development of digital technologies, and creating effective policy and legal frameworks to protect women's rights online. Over the summer, a friend asked me to help create a learning app, which provides digital courses for young adults to learn how to promote media content creation. This project inspired me to wonder, how could I use technology to provide more educational opportunities for young women? Digital technologies can help bridge the gender gap in education, employment, and entrepreneurship. They can also provide new opportunities for women to access information, resources, and networks that can help them achieve their goals. For example, in the past, education was only available in an actual classroom, but the rise of remote learning has allowed students to learn anytime, anywhere. By creating and investing in online learning programs, which can be made accessible through websites and apps, we can expand educational opportunities for young girls who are unable to attend school. They can receive high-quality education in remote places. In addition to providing educational opportunities, we can also use technology to create tools that can help protect women from violence and exploitation. For example, females that are victims of domestic violence often condone the actions of the perpetrator due to their lack of knowledge and accessibility to social services. We can develop apps that allow women to report incidents of abuse and access emergency services. Furthermore, we must recognize the importance of collaboration and partnership in achieving gender equality. We must work together to ensure that women's voices are heard and their perspectives are taken into account in the development of digital technologies. We can do this by creating and promoting platforms that enable women to share their stories and experiences. This could help raise awareness of gender inequality and encourage more people to take action to address the issue. These are just a few examples of how we can use technology to promote gender equality, but the possibilities are endless. By working together, we can create innovative technological solutions that can help to close the gender gap and create a more equitable and just world. Thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing your ideas and working together to make gender equality a reality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you for sharing your personal story and your proposal to develop apps that allow women to report incidents of abuse and access emergency services is a much needed solution to help protect women from violence and exploitation. I believe together we can make a meaningful difference in the everyday lives of women and girls. Yeah, thank you so much. And we are moving to the last speaker for today's session, Peter Chen. Peter is a grade 11 student living in Toronto, Canada. His biggest areas of passion include the study of history and antiques, learning languages, and exploring international relations. He is particularly interested in Chinese modern history since the Qin dynasty. He also researches and collects antiques coins from all over the world. In terms of languages, he can speak 4: English, French, Mandarin, and Cantonese, and currently learning Spanish. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. It's a great honor for me to speak here today at the 67th session on a commission on the status of women, discussing how to achieve gender equality in a new digital age. As a famous saying in China states, women hold up half the sky. Women compose half the global population, yet historically they've been continuously oppressed, persecuted, objectified, and confined by the powerful and powerless, rich and poor men alike. Women's struggle for autonomy, equality, and empowerment never stopped. From ancient Greece to the first and second waves of feminism, women started by trying to participate in the Olympic game, as in the case of Cleopatra, to gain the right to suffrage, equal education, and equal pay. Despite significant improvements in women's rights in some countries, in the 21st century, the majority of the world is still tangled in the issue of gender inequality. I was born in Beijing, the capital city of China, and immigrated to Canada at the age of 10. I first went to Prince Edward Island, a small island on the East Coast, then to Toronto, the largest city in Canada. Growing up in these places, I have not personally seen significant gender inequality, yet I noticed subtle things. For example, in China about 8-10 years ago, when we went to washrooms at crowded places such as shopping malls or tourist attractions, I often need to wait a long time for mom due to the lineup at the female washroom. Another example is driving. For us Chinese, when we see a car that drives very slowly on the road or parks very badly, especially when it gets in our way, we'd instantly say, that must be a female driver, stemming from the stereotype that women drive worse than men. I go to an all-boys independent school, Upper Canada College, and one particular note from my politics teacher, Mr. Pascalidis, truly resonates with me. He said that every one of us should be a feminist. This is because every one of us has female relatives and friends. Gender equality is not just for women's rights, but also for men's. Therefore, fighting for gender equality is a responsibility of us all. So when we talk about gender inequality, what is the status quo? Women in developing and more conservative countries face more gender inequality than those in more progressive and developed countries. Two main causes contribute to this situation. One is economic factors, and the other is culture. I want to focus more specifically in my speech today on culture. Culture can include a specific nation or country's historical context, religion, and tradition. Here are the highlights of some specific cultural practices that contribute significantly to gender inequality. Firstly, patriarchality, where married couples reside with a male family, is still practiced in parts of Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, East Asia, and South and East Asia. This gives male spouse significant power over the female as she is living in the house of the male's family. Secondly, dowry and bride service traditions, where either the bride or groom's family gives a significant amount of money or equivalents to the spouse. This can be both positive and negative. On the one hand, this amount of money can help the couple to get established. However, on the other hand, this may lead to arranged marriages based on monetary incentives and therefore mistreatment of women in abusive marriages. Lastly, and the most harmful of all, is the preference for male offspring over females. This can be in the form of treating their male children better than their female counterparts, or abandoning their female children in order to keep their male ones. We've seen this happening in many countries throughout the world in the past centuries, and is still being practiced and happening in parts of the developing world. This led to gender imbalances and stereotypes that point to women being incapable of achieving what men can achieve. All traditions mentioned earlier and practices that lead to gender inequality are subjective. In other words, to reduce gender inequality, it's crucial to change people's perceptions. To eliminate these biases against women, I envision two possible ways. One is conscious, which requires deliberate actions from the leadership of developing and conservative countries, and conscious reception from the citizens of these countries. At the same time, the other is unconscious, which can be achieved through time. This conscious effort is through education. As the saying goes, school is a child's second home. School plays an important role in combating stereotypes. This can be achieved through attention to subtle details in the educational material. For instance, to combat societal norm of patriarchality, a passage in a language course textbook can show an example of a married couple living on their own or with a maternal family. Or to combat the preference for male offspring, the textbook can depict female characters as scientists, politicians, or engineers, professions that men traditionally hold. Textbooks can also make up the effort to teach children about the real-life success stories of women in fields traditionally held by men. This creates the impression that females can achieve the same as males, reducing a family's preference and the difference in treatment between male and female offspring. The other unconscious way of combating gender inequality is through globalization. Globalization is not only about the global transfer of goods and merchandise, but also the spread of soft power and cultural norms. Youth in many developing countries often follow the more developed countries' societal trends and cultural practices. This can be in the form of music, film, literature, fashion, and etc. All these media of cultural transfer contain the values and beliefs of artists and governments from where the works are created. In this process, youth in developing countries develop unconscious acceptance and agreement with the societal norm present in these works, including the more progressive views regarding the underprivileged or persecuted groups in these countries, such as women. For instance, older generation Chinese often hold very conservative views toward the LGBTQIA community. Yet younger generation Chinese, especially those in urban areas prone to Western influence, tend to be way more liberal and accepting in this regard. I understand that many countries may reject influence from the developed Occidental world and prefer to maintain their own nation's original and traditional cultures. However, we must understand that achieving gender equality is not about emulating the West. It's about helping the citizens of our own countries, our own mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters. We must also understand the difference between benign cultural heritage and harmful cultural practices. Therefore, we should preserve the cultural practices that unite a nation and abolish those that divide. Just like how Chinese today view the abolishment of foot biting after the Xinhai Revolution as a great achievement, our children and grandchildren 50 years from now will also look back at the changes and the efforts we make today toward gender equality with pride. The power of change toward a better world lies in our hands, and we should be the generation that eliminates gender inequality. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your amazing sharing, Peter, and your emphasis on the fact that fighting for gender equality is the responsibility of us all was especially impactful. And we appreciate your focus on cultural practices that contribute to gender inequality. It's clear that these practices are deeply entrenched in many societies, and it will take a concerted effort to challenge and change them. And thank you for shedding light on this important issue and for inspiring us to take action towards a more equal and just world for all. And today we have seen so many exceptional examples of leadership to ensure the gender equality in the digital age. I believe that thanks to the bravery, devotion, and talent demonstrated by today's participants, especially younger ones, we can approach closer to the solutions of gender inequality problem. And now we are moving to Q&A session. And if you have a question for our guest speakers, please post your question in the chat. Thank you. And I'm inviting Emma to host a Q&A session. Emma, are you here?
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you. So I think I do have a few questions. The first question is for Susan. Susan, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. The first question is from your personal view, for developing countries, what is the the most effective solution that can help us achieve gender equality in the digital age? I'm going to translate in Chinese and you will answer and I'm going to translate in Chinese. Thank you. 苏珊女士，问题是苏珊女士，对于发展中国家，针对今天的主题，通过数字时代及创新来实现性别平等，你个人认为最重要且最有效的解决方案是什么？
Okay, I think that Dr. Mendes actually touched on this in his presentation. So I think that it's really important that we realize that technology is the tool to facilitate and advance gender equality in all areas like health, education, social services. But I think the most important thing that we can be doing is ensuring that gender is constantly being reviewed at all stages of tech innovation. Otherwise, it can often go in the opposite of what we're looking for, and it can actually damage the advancement of girls and women. And it could, for example, it could like reinforce gender stereotypes, or if like the internet's not used appropriately, it can do harm or it can be unsafe for girls. So I think continuously reviewing innovations to make sure they're gender inclusive. So yeah, I think that's most important.
Thank you. OK， 苏珊女士的回答是，刚才在门度的演讲当中也提到了，科技是一种工具，是能够用来追求这个达到这个性别平等的工具，也能够提升我们这个健康权跟社会关系的一个很好的工具。性别平等最需要的是要我们要不断的评估这个创新还有这个科技跟我们想达到的这个目的之间的一个平衡哈，要做好这个平衡。不然的话会是一种损害，特别是一种创新，创新会带来好的，也会带来一些负面的影响，所以他的这个对他个人认为最重要的是做好这个平衡的工作。谢谢。Thank you, Susan. The second question is for our youth speaker, Rosa. Rosa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
The question is, as a Chinese international student, if there's one top thing you will be doing for gender equality, what that would be? 问题是柔莎，你作为一位中国籍的国际学生，你认为对于性别平等，如果让你做一件最重要的事情来提高性别平等的话，那会是一件什么事情？
Thank you, Emma, and thank you for the question. I feel like as a Chinese international student, I'm so thankful for the opportunity I've already got. And I appreciate a lot for going abroad and see the gender equality as a problem in the global context. And I feel like because I'm in the education major, so the most important thing for me to do is to use the education tools as and platform. And with the help of technological and innovations changes to combine all those resources together in the educational platform and kind of implore and send information and importance of the gender equality as a problem to others, and to kind of change their mindset through the educational means with the help of the technology and the technological changes and the new innovations. And yeah, so I feel like the most important thing for me is to kind of change or eliminate the gender inequality by educational tools and platform. Thank you.
Thank you. 作为国际学生，我非常的幸运，我有这个机会走向世界，在世界的学校学习。作为教育学的学生，学习最先进的理论还有工具，用这些理论和工具来解决性别平等和其他的问题。所以呢，对于我来说，最重要的事情还是通过我学到的教育的理论、教育的知识跟工具。来解决性别平等和其他一些跟教育相关的一些问题。谢谢。 Okay, I have one more question coming in. It's for Shane. Shane, are you there?
I am. Morning.
Good morning. Could you share with us what are the top focus for the company to build their talents pipeline to address gender equality? 这个问题是给 Shane 的。问题是，请您分享一下公司如何在性别平等的前提下做好人才培养的计划。
It's a great question. There are lots of things, but I think one of the most important pieces to solving that puzzle is getting the attention of young women when they're girls. So the younger we can reach them, the more opportunities that we can provide for them so that they can see how they can utilize their talents and interests in these STEM career fields, the better off we'll be. Because what happens is, and I've seen this happen hundreds of times, is by engaging them young, we can change hearts and minds. We can influence college decisions and academic decisions. And ultimately, we influence career aspirations. And more than just career aspirations, we teach life skills and professional skills. And we empower these people to be as great as they can possibly be. So the most important thing is for corporations and organizations to find opportunities to engage young women when they're young.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
其实很多事情我们可以做，但是对于我来说，最重要的事情是什么？是让这些女孩跟女性提早接触到这个科技或者是任何他们感兴趣的行业提高他们自己对这个的关注度，让他们提早知道关于他们自己兴趣的这个领域，早日接触这些对他们自己以后选校，包括职业生涯的规划都有非常好的影响。尽早的让他们介入，去发掘，这样也能够去发掘、去学习，这样能够影响到他们的最终的这个选择跟社会的贡献。所以呢，他呼吁所有的企业或者机构尽早的在对女性或者是女孩进行早日教育。谢谢。Okay, so I have this 3 questions so far, and I think I'm going to give it back to Alicia. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Emma, and thanks to all our participants for great questions and for being a part of today's event on how to achieve gender equality in the digital age. And we hope you got inspired by the speakers' hard efforts to make every field of our life more equitable, especially for one of the most vulnerable parts of our society, women and girls. And let's work together to make a change. And thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can you stay for everyone, for panelists? Can you stay? Okay, because I wanted to take a group picture.
Okay.
Okay. Everyone, turn on your video, please.
Good job, buddy.
Okay. Get ready. Smile. Sorry, one more. Someone's text coming, chat coming, sorry. Smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
Have
you.
a good day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thanks, Emma. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
谢谢。
Bye. Thank you.